I need to get a few more clients, man. This is a message that Cody sent to me a little while back. And I wrote an Instagram thread about it. And the Instagram thread actually goes into, like, I don't even know how many themes, but a lot of themes that I feel like are really important to hit on around getting clients, around marketing networks. And I thought it would be kind of fun today to actually dissect the entire post, the entire thread, and talk about all of the different themes individually and give you a little bit of depth to this Instagram post, because Instagram doesn't really lend itself to that well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the whole post first. It'll take me a minute or two. And so you have the context. Okay, so I'm going to read through the whole thing first. And then Amber is going to read it basically one slide at a time. And then we're all going to have a conversation about that slide. And then we'll go on to the next one. So let me read this to you. I need to get a few more clients, man, Cody said in the message. How can I increase my followers so I get more clients? He asked. Cody had just over 2,500 followers on Instagram. I asked how many clients he had. I've got 3 clients, he said. How many do you want? I asked. If I had 10, that would be amazing, he said. Cody has 3 clients. He needs 10. He has 2,500 followers. I don't think getting more followers will solve his problem. Cody's conversion rate, 3 divided by 2,500 equals 0.12%. His problem is a combination of 2 things. Number 1, nobody values what he does or believes it applies to them. Number 2, nobody knows he actually sells coaching. Cody's Instagram account was full of pretty videos. They were all about him and his workouts. None were about how he helps people become better versions of themselves. And he never asked for clients, not once. All he had was a link in his bio to a coaching page. In Cody's mind, he had already made the ask for clients. There's a bio link. It's obvious, right? But Cody lives in his world. Of course it's obvious to him. We don't live in Cody's world. If you want clients, you must ask for them. Often. Cody added one more thing to me. I hate social media, he said. So don't fucking use it, I replied. If you hate it, you're going to suck at it anyway. Most trainers would actually do better if they completely ignored social media. You should always be creating some content, but if you need a few clients, it's not your priority. Content's a long-term play. Think of it like a savings account you make deposits into. If you need clients now, don't rely on content. Most people buy trainers through personal recommendation. This happens locally and branches out from there. Building strong connections with real humans will grow your clientele faster than social media. There's a lot to dig into there, isn't there, Ren?
It's meaty. Delicious. I don't know what else to say.
No, I needed you to say something because I had to cough.
I thought you had a thing. I was like, man, the TIA has finally come. Like, he's just stressed himself into a transient ischemic attack.
I had a cough from like the second slide on there. And it was kind of a game. It was kind of a game to myself. It was kind of a game to myself to see whether I could keep going and not. So thanks for taking up that time. Len, you are the best MC Tuck man can hope for.
Thank you, John.
So Amber, I'll kick it to you. If you can read back, like, we're going to start with the first 2 slides because they kind of go together, and then we'll do them one slide at a time, and we'll dig in. And some of the slides, as I was reading them, I was like, ooh, this can take some time. There's a lot here.
Yep. All right. So I need to get a few more clients, man, Cody said in a message. How can I increase my followers so I get more clients, he asked. Cody had just over 2,500 followers on Instagram. I asked how many clients he had. I've got 3 clients, he said. How many do you want? I asked. If I had 10, that would be amazing, he said. Cody has 3 clients. He needs 10. He has 2,500 followers. I don't think getting more followers will solve his problem. ...
when you kick this off.
Yeah. Cody has 2,500 followers, but he has no engaged following, first of all. And this is a big issue that we see on social media for the coaches that we work with, right? And one of the worst things that two of the worst things that we see on social media, and we're going to diverge from social media here soon, but two of the worst things that we see is, number one, I hate it when people don't have their name on social media. So Cody, I hope you got your name in your social media profile first. But the second thing is the follow for follow train is the dumbest thing that you can do on social media if you are a business of any type. Like, why would you want random people following you? It's like having a store for shoes and asking multiple amputees to come in and come into the store this weekend. We're having a sale. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
That's the weirdest, worst example you've ever
I love that dark strange, joke.
But it's effective.
Beautiful.
But it's effective.
Oh, I love it.
So you ask the post office, where do most of the amputees live in the city? I'd like to target that zip code for a shoe sale. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. No disrespect to amputees. I have some in my family, but with that, and we can't get into the ratio here because that's the next slide. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I got some black friends.
It's my best friend.
Yeah, so I can make black jokes.
I've got black friends. Yeah, I got black friends. I got a black neighbor. But in any case, so what we find a lot of times on social media is because the following is not built through engagement, there's no engagement in your following. Yeah. You can't mobilize the people that are following you. I don't want to jump the gun because a lot of the meat's on the third slide, but that's my initial thought, John. And followers isn't the problem. Connection is the problem.
Connection's the problem. I think that's the key point. I think the only other thing that I'd really bring up about these first two slides is just how simple the goal is, really, when you break it down. But before I said to Cody, how many clients do you need? He had never thought, and this is background information, he had never thought that all he needed was 10. He knew that all he needed was 10, but he hadn't verbalized that before. Mm-hmm. And if we never verbalize our whatever we need at that point to get to the next step, right? This wasn't his ultimate goal. This was just his short term, like, I got to get here to pay my bills, basically. Mm-hmm. If we never verbalize that, then our goals are so nebulous and mysterious that they become more scary. And the path towards them becomes much less clear. In verbalizing, hey, I got 3 clients, I need 10. It's like, it becomes pretty simple then. I mean, the second you listen to it, you're like, all right, you need 7 customers. Like, things begin to simplify. So if that means something to you, then I hope that just simplifying that next step goal, you can't go from A to Z. You got to go from A to B to C to D to E to F in order to get to Z. Right? You don't skip these steps. It doesn't mean that you're satisficing. It doesn't mean that you're saying, oh no, this is just okay. Like, I'm okay with just being okay. It's saying, nah, in order to do stuff in business, I need to be able to pay my bills first. Mm-hmm. Right? And then continue to move up. So how do I get there as fast as possible? And that's really what this is about, demystifying the experience that way. And we want to kick it to the next one. The next one is the...
I'd be curious, of the 3 clients that he has, were they from Instagram at all?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have a conversation with him. I don't know. My guess is no.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Just from
and of those 2,500, how many has he talked to?
Where they're just like, well, there's also that. Yeah, I mean, my guess is no. Like, the majority of people that I speak to that ask me, hey, how do I get more clients? How do I use social media to get more clients? How do I get people on Instagram or whatever? It's the first question that I usually ask him is like, have you ever gotten a client on Instagram? And it's not me being a sarcastic jackass. It's me trying to deconstruct the problem here and what's worked and what hasn't worked in the past. Because if they say, yeah, I've gotten lots of clients from Instagram, I'm just not getting them now. It's like, cool. Tell me about what you did when you were getting clients, right? Like what's changed? Because it's not quote unquote the algorithm. There's something else. Like you're not shadow banned. You're just not being interesting right now. Like that's the hard truth. A lot of people don't want to hear,
because it just couldn't be that the content doesn't speak.
Shove it up.
Anyway,
I think I'm being shadow banned right now. Oh, I think you're just making jokes about selling shoes to amputees on a podcast.
Oh, we've got another group to add to the polyamorous vegans.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I mean, to be fair, this one is far more legitimate in their outrage.
Yeah.
Okay, Emily, why don't we kick it
next? Cody's conversion rate, 3 divided by 2,500 is 0.12%. His problem is a combination of two things. 1, nobody values what he does or believes it applies to them. And 2, nobody knows he actually sells coaching.
Every time, let me take it back a step. When in the proposal for the book, which I didn't tell you this, Ren, we got offers for the book today.
Oh, really?
So I got a whole bunch of offers on the book today, and very, very good offers.
I saw the one offer that I was not supposed to mention anything about because it was too early to mention about it.
Yeah, so that was so we got basically like a preempt, like it's called a preempt, but basically like a bully offer.
Right.
And we turned that down. And today was the day of the auction.
Nice.
And we got a lot of offers on the book, and all of them were very, very good offers. But we know
exciting.
We're going to go with, and we're just negotiating some fine points.
Very
so I didn't
nice.
tell you that yet. But one of in the proposal was interesting. One of the points that a few of the different publishing companies pointed out as like, I've never seen it expressed this way before, but the second you do it, it becomes so clear. Was actually, it wasn't this story, it was a different story that I was telling. But I highlighted the conversion rate of somebody who's using social media to quote unquote get clients, right? And they said, the minute that you write it at that in unobvious truth has now become obvious. The minute that you see it, you're like, yeah, no shit. Like this is ridiculous. Like I would even argue that 0.12% is not even that bad of a conversion rate on social media. But it is a terrible conversion rate in real life on basically, especially, if it's like purely cold traffic, yeah, it's pretty bad, but like not ridiculous. But considering that this is traffic that has in some way, shape, or form opted in with you already by following you, it's abysmally bad in any other circumstance. It's just social media, particularly Instagram, to be honest. Instagram is probably the worst converting social media out there. I mean, they've just done such a fantastic job in making it so people never want to click links or leave Instagram.
This is true.
I mean, it's clearly by design. I talk about this in the book all the time, in how there's a very distinct goal misalignment between social media's goals and your goals. Like if your goals are not to become famous on that social media platform, but to do something that you're hoping that social media platform will allow you to do outside of that social media platform, it's not good or bad, but it's a misalignment of goals, and that's where conversion rates like this kind of come in, isn't it? It's but the second that you write it and that you see it, it's like, oh shit, I'm converting at 0.04% right now. The other one was, I think, 0.02% or whatever, this other person.
And pouring my heart and soul into it.
Well, that's the other thing is I don't even think, I love content creation. I think content creation is immensely valuable, but it is a hell of a lot of time.
Right.
And energy and you can't think about the time that you commit to creating content. You can't think about that in terms of the rewards that you get from the content. You have to also consider about the things you're not doing in that time. Mentally, emotionally, but also like physically. Like, what are you not doing? Right? You're not actually talking to humans like in its simplest form, but you're also not getting better at your craft. Unless your craft is building social media posts, you're probably not getting better at your craft. Maybe you could make an argument that you're getting better at it in some way because you're like educating about it, which I buy. But you're definitely not doing like deep work. You're also, I spoke about this with my friend Don Dapani, who's a Hindu priest, so ex-Hindu monk, and spoke about this the other day with him. What you practice is what you get better at. Practice doesn't delineate whether something is good or bad, positive or negative. Picture a garden. Where you pour water on a garden, whether you pour water on a flower or on a weed, is irrelevant. Both are going to grow if you water them. This works the same way. And if you think about this, what are we practicing when we're spending all of our time, all of our spare time, marketing time, personal development time, thinking and working on social media, right? We're practicing how to get better at social media. Might be a good thing to practice. We're practicing how to communicate in this new format. Might be a good thing to practice. We're also practicing how to be distracted and how to have very short attention spans. Very damaging. Very, very, very damaging. And the fact of the matter is, today, in the modern day, we are practicing distraction and short-term, short-form attention spans. Minimum 5 hours a day, most people. Well, what do you think you're going to get better at? You're going to get better at being distracted. You're going to get better at consuming and training your brain to expect something exciting to happen every 10 to 20 seconds. And you're never going to get good at anything.
This is where I like to flip social media on its ear. And this is what I talk to our OTA students about. Because you can learn how to build a pipe bomb from a book, or you can learn how to plant a garden in an urban environment, right? And when you lean into social media in the way that social media wants you to, the chances of you pouring out something good are rather limited. This is why it's dangerous to go for those likes and comments and hope people share, because I use social media initially to learn how to quickly respond to questions. I'd spend weeks at a time finding questions in big, overblown Facebook groups with horrible admins and terrible, terrible answers.
Right.
And I would get my phone out and I'd look into the camera and I'd say, "Hey, Denise, that's a great question. I want to give you 3 tips for what you feel like might be excess weight from your baby," et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the same thing with content on social media, like you alluded to, John, earlier. Kind of see it if you're using what you're learning through certification courses and practicing teaching it. Social media was my initial platform for discussing the information I have with my core demographic, with my target audience. But if you use it for the way that it wants you to use it, I'm shirtless, oiled up, getting all the likes I can for doing stupid human tricks in gyms, right?
I'd watch.
And we do. People do watch. It's super fucking entertaining. It doesn't help your business at all. Like, I see people with huge followings, particularly in our space and wellness. I just go to see how long the link tree is. I just go to see how much shit they're selling in Linktree, because I know they're not making money from being a coach, right? But that wasn't the play. But coaches fall into the trap of becoming a Linktree advocate because they don't understand how to utilize a tool to benefit a business. They only know how to utilize a tool to benefit the tool that they become the tool, John. I hate to say that. There's some tools out there.
Right.
I digress. I've got nothing else.
Okay. So what's next? Nobody values. His problem is a combination of two things. Nobody values what he does or believes it applies to them.
Right.
Nobody knows he actually sells coaching. Amber, why don't you read the next slide for us, if you don't mind? Because that second point, the next slide kind of expands on.
Sure. Cody's Instagram account was full of pretty videos. They were all about him and his workouts. None were about how he helps people become better versions of themselves. That, and he never asked for clients. Not once. All he had was a link in his bio to a coaching page. I call this Field of Dreams syndrome.
We can pop in here too. Talk to us about that.
So I call this Field of Dreams syndrome, right? Build it and they will come. All right. And that's not how this works. Half of the time, coaches don't even make it clear that they have a freaking baseball field. It could be a hockey arena. It could be, a soccer field. We don't even know which field they're on, let alone to invite, the right type of players. So that's how I always see this especially when we're doing social media audits. That's like, I don't even know what game we're playing here.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do it, you kind of need to work backwards from the outcome, don't you? Mm-hmm. You kind of need to say, this is where I want people to go. Here's how I'm going to get them to be my client. And then once they're my client, take care of them. And so, okay, cool. What's the straightest path to that? Like if I was the customer and I know nothing about what I know now, which we'll get into in the next slide a little bit about how you know way more about your thing than anybody else does. If I was the customer there, would I have any idea how this benefits me? Would I be able to identify at first glance that this is for me and how I'm going to benefit, mm-hmm. and know how to continue? What offer there is, take you up on it. This is, to me, is just like right at the top of the page. Like, here's what I sell. Like, I don't have this page because I don't have an ego, because I have an ego. Like, I have this page because I run a business and this is helping me run my business. Here's what I sell. And I think that is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I think if you have a business, you should make it very clear that you are in business. If you were to walk into a shop, think of how awkward it would be if you walked into a shop and they're just like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Look around. There's some entertainment. There's some stuff. Here's me. A bunch of stuff. And then in the corner, in like a tiny little place in the corner, it's like, if you want more information about what we sell, click here on this book. Or open this book and flip through all of the pages and see if anything appeals to you. Like, cool. You wouldn't even walk into that weird shop of horrors. But that's what a lot of these accounts kind of are, aren't they? So, I mean, the obvious point here to me is everything was about him and his workouts. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an account that is ostensibly about you, where you're tracking your own progress, where you're showcasing your weightlifting because it just feels good. Maybe it's an accountability thing. Maybe it just feels good. Maybe it's like a reward mechanism. When you finish your workout, you post it on the internet and that feels good. And that's your celebration and that keeps you going. Like, that's cool. But that's not a way to generate business. That's totally cool to have an account like that. But don't expect anybody to be like, oh, you help busy mums lose weight? Oh, I really like, James, what you're doing, lifting that log above your head. Oh my God, I'm a busy mom. This must be for me.
Oh, man.
Like, this is a real example. Like, it sounds ridiculous.
It's the realest example ever.
Like, it's just, so there's, again, neither is good or bad. you got to be clear on what you want out of this thing. Cool. Take pictures and videos of yourself lifting that log, James. Hell yeah, that shit looks heavy. Like, you're strong. Good job.
Way to go.
Way to be, James. But, like, I'm going to call you Jimmy. Can I do that? All right, Jimmy. Way to be, Jimmy.
I don't think he likes that, John. I don't think he likes me.
No, and he can lift heavy logs above his head, so I should be nice to him. Okay, we're back to James. James.
Oh my gosh.
I guess the question here is to ask the question, is this about you or is it about them?
Right.
Just to be clear about that. Both are fine. Doesn't mean that you can't sometimes infuse a bit of you into it, for sure. But even when you infuse you into it, it should be about them. Like your message should somehow relate to them.
Right. It's the truth though. I like cayenne pepper. I also enjoy cinnamon. Once I accidentally poured cayenne pepper onto my Raisin Bran Crunch, 1 star. Do not recommend. There's nothing wrong with either one of them, but they're not both appropriate for every situation. And there are a lot of people on social in this space who, because they are so entertained by an entertaining fitness account, they can't differentiate the difference between interest and business, generating interest and generating business. And sometimes they overlap.
Yeah.
But they don't always. And it's important to know the difference because the application will praise you you said this ad nauseum now, John, over this weeks and months we've been doing this podcast. Like, the application will reward you for serving it. No question about it. Like, Instagram is going to give you all the likes and comments and follows you can handle if you're keeping people on Instagram for longer periods of time.
Pay you nothing for them.
Pay you zero.
It's the greatest magic trick in the world. Right. We're going to get all these motherfuckers to work for us for free.
Right.
We're going to give them all of these fake, completely worthless success metrics. And that's going to make them want to work even more for us for free. And then we're going to make billions of dollars as a result of somehow convincing millions upon millions of people to work for us for free every single day. It is the greatest magic trick in the world, isn't it?
It's like Smithers and Burns from The Simpsons came with it. What will we give them, sir? We'll give them a like, Smithers. Give them a thumbs up. They'll love it. Okay, Mr. Burns. Right? And people love it. They come back for it.
It'll make them feel good about themselves for a second. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Amber, unfortunately, needs to take care of something at home. It was a bit of an emergency, so when you and I ran around.
All right.
I'll read the next slide. In Cody's mind, he had already made the ask for clients. There's BioLink. It's obvious, right? But Cody lives in his world. Of course, it's obvious to him. We don't live in Cody's world. If you want clients, you must ask for them often.
It's one of the core tenets of sales, asking for the business. There's no level of sales that you will ever interact with where a fundamental core tenet is not asking for the business. You do blah, 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 blah. Make sure you ask for the business. Did you ask for the business? Did you complete the presentation? Did you ask for the business the way we taught you to? It's impossible for people to buy from your store, number one, if they have no idea what's in it. Number two, if they don't even know it's open. They're going to put an open sign out in front of the door, man. Like, because people, John, would you agree that just on the internet, generally speaking, there's just too many options for you to expect people to see that you have a thing, even if it's a thing that they want, and they just buy it from you because they see that you have it. Like, there's too many options.
I think there's a lot of that. I think a lot of the time people like buying stuff. Like, people like to purchase things. They generally don't admit that, but people like to purchase things. The stress, the pain of figuring out how to make a purchase actually stops most purchases.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, in this case, Cody lives in his world. To him, it's obvious that you can buy from him. He is sitting at home hoping that he gets an application today, stressed that he's not, wondering what's going wrong. Everything he thinks about is how he's in business, of how people should be signing up with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not obvious on the outside. You're going out for the night with your boys. You put on your dancing shoes. They're your best Pumas.
Nice.
You get to the club. You order a gin and tonic. And they give you one of those stupid little straws. And you're standing on the edge of the dance floor. And you're looking across the group of beautiful feminitas.
That's nice.
And you're trying to look cool, so you're not looking down at your drink. But you're trying to get that little stupid straw to get to your mouth. And you're kind of like tonguing it to like feel it. Meanwhile, you're hitting yourself in the lip with the straw. Wondering, because you put on your Pumas, why nobody wants to come and dance with you. Meanwhile, Betty's over there. Betty decided to go out with her girlfriends that night. She put on her dancing dress.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a store that sells dresses, and I can't think of a single one.
That's all right. She's Express, John. She bought a dancing dress from the local Macy's.
So she went out to Macy's. What are we, like, what are we, 60 years old? She went out to Macy's. Betty went to Macy's.
It's an Easter dress. She's going with her grandma this weekend to Easter service.
Decided to get a dress at Macy's. Got herself a Shirley Temple.
It's the official department store of grandma's credit card.
She's standing on the other side of the dance floor. She's looking across at this guy who she's not quite sure might have some weird little twitch with his face, but other than that is kind of cute. And is wondering, because she's obviously wearing her dancing dress,
right,
why nobody's coming up and asking her to dance. In Betty's world, it's obvious. She's wearing her dancing dress. Why isn't anybody asking her to dance? In my world, I'm wearing my Pumas.
Obviously.
I'm sitting here. I don't want this gin and tonic. Definitely don't want this goofy-ass little straw. You think I'd want to be in this bar? No. I want to dance. It's obvious.
Oh, man.
But we're both in our own worlds. We don't know what the other person wants. And here's the thing about asking somebody to dance. Okay? If you follow this asinine example. The person who asks others to dance most often is going to be rejected the most.
Mm-hmm.
They're also going to dance most often.
There you go.
Just don't scuff my Pumas.
Puma scuffing is not allowed, John. It's just a party killer instantly. I've assaulted people for less.
Cody added one more thing. I hate social media, he said. So don't fucking use it, I replied. If you hate it, you're going to suck at it anyway. Most trainers would actually do better if they completely ignored social media. Ronald, your turn.
So here's the thing. I don't think enough business people at a sole proprietorship business level, because you don't really learn metrics when you're in the sole proprietorship, right? You don't have good information for where most of your attention is, or the source of most of your business is, or the frequency, or the average sales size, or how often you're in front of people, right? So when you don't have those metrics, and it's unfortunate because that can really simplify business, but when you don't have those metrics, you're more likely to guess. And when you guess, you're going to guess based on how you perceive your environment. And for most of us that are trainers these days, it's almost impossible not to be stuck. Stuck's not a great word. It's almost impossible not to interact with a social media environment. It's kind of how most of us communicate, whether we intend to sell there or not. So if you don't know that that's a ridiculous number. If you don't know that 65% of your clientele came from referrals, then you will immediately go to the wrong source and put the most effort in the lowest return category for your business. And it's really, really common. The second thing about this particular side that I think most coaches don't realize is you don't have to love social media through the lens of creating. But if you do stuff in real life, and John had this example when he was pitching his book, if you're doing stuff in real life and you just talk about the real stuff that you're doing on social media, you'll have a much greater rate of success. So instead of trying to make social media the platform where you prove to people that you do stuff, actually really go out and do stuff and then just talk about it on social media. It's a much better play for most people who get really frustrated by trying to create business through social media. It's a much better avenue for more people to show what their business is already doing on social media. And that's how I got my first online clients, John. It was me talking about the people that I was actually working with, them commenting about it and sharing stuff. So I think we hate social media because we just you wanted to do something that it doesn't really actually do. It never did that. It's not going to do it next month. It didn't do it at 2,000 followers. It's not going to do it at 200,000. You might have a nice link tree, but that's just kind of not what it's for. And again, like you said, that's a great sleight of hand of social media, right? Convincing you, oh, you can build a business here. Maybe, probably not. Better off building a business and then talking about your business on social media. That's my 2 cents, John. What are your thoughts?
Similar. I don't think that you have to use it. I don't think that you can't use it. Like, I'm just fighting back more and more these days around the assumption that if you don't use it and like win with it, then you can't be a success in anything that you do. I'm fighting back against that.
Right.
I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with it. I think there's a lot of ways to use social media to really benefit. I mean, a lot of my career is built off of it. But that was after I did a lot of things in the real world and built a lot of real life connections. And I think about a lot of the contacts that I have that I really cherish, where there's a tremendous amount of mutual trust between us.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll vouch for me in a lot of ways. They'll participate in something that I'm doing blindly because they trust me. And I mean, I had somebody that I spoke to today. I was just like, hey, man, this is the first appearance that I've done in 3 years. And like, said yes and was excited to do with me. Like, I'm not the first person to ask him in 3 years. Like, this guy sold his company for $200 million. Like, I'm not the first person to ask him to participate in something in 3 years. But it's because I've spent like real time with him in real life and not like broadcasted that shit across the internet.
Right.
Because I'm trying to somehow like show off that I'm with somebody who is well known. Like over the years, I feel like the value of that genuine connection is actually increasing. A lot of relationships, even professional colleague relationships, often are quite fake. It's one person trying to leverage the authority of the other person, and sometimes it's just like I have relationships with people where it's pretty commonly agreed between us that like we're mutually going to benefit,
right,
by supporting one another. Right. And a rising tide lifts all boats, and together we rise. And I think that that's wonderful. Neither of us pretend that this is anything that it isn't.
Right.
But I've been told, I mean, by this person who I spoke to, for example, I've been told that there are people who he'd like be hanging out with or whatever, and somebody would bring a friend or he'd be at an event or something like that, and he'd be like enjoying time and hanging out with them, and then they'd ask for a picture and like tag him in it and stuff like that, and he's just like, I don't mind, like I'm happy to take a picture with you, but this doesn't exactly make me want to hang out with you again.
Right.
Knowing that you're trying to leverage like the time that we enjoyed with one another to like improve your social standing, whatever. Like, so what have you given up? Is my question. In doing that, I say that most trainers would actually do better if they completely ignored social media, because I think that most trainers actually need to get fucking good at what they do first.
Right.
Before they start talking about how good they are at something when they're clearly just not that good at it yet. And like, you gotta put in your time, no matter what. You can only get so far kind of faking it. And I get it. There's outliers. There are like 20-year-olds who, get famous, but they're genuinely not around for a very long time. And even if they're famous, like, what are they doing with their fame? Like, maybe they'll get into acting or entertainment. But nobody legitimizes their expertise in any real way, and they can't leverage their expertise to do anything that they can really sell, because they don't really have expertise.
Right.
You can feel that. So I say most trainers would actually better if they completely ignored social media, because social media to me is a savings account. I talk about this, I think, in the next slide. It's a savings account. It's something that you invest into when you have excess time and capital and energy that you hope will pay off interest in the years to come. But you should never need to depend on the interest or to make withdrawals from social media in order to achieve anything really today. Like, it's not a short-term thing. It's something that you hope that if you just make consistent, small investments into over a long enough time horizon, it will grow to the point where, as a good savings account does, you're kind of not stressed about stuff. Like, I'm not stressed about basically anything professionally ever. And I don't expect to be for the rest of my life. And that's because I've done little things on social media or through content for 13 years, pretty much every single day. There have never been any real spikes. There's never been any like short-term, like crazy viral hits. It's just been a slow and steady growth over a long enough time that it now kicks off enough interest in just people being aware of me and reputational gain and stuff that that I'm not really worried or stressed about stuff, which to me is like kind of a definition of a great life. Other people want to get as rich and loaded as possible. I don't know. I think enough is enough. So that's kind of why it leads us into the next one here, Ren, which is you should always be creating some content, but if you need a few clients, it's not your priority. Content is a long-term play. Think of it like a savings account you make deposits into. If you need clients now, don't rely on content. Anything you want to add to that?
No, that speaks for itself.
Right. Last one. Then we get out here. Most people buy trainers through personal recommendation. This happens locally and branches out from there. Building stronger connections with real humans will grow your clientele faster than social media.
This one's a doozy. I love this one because I have this conversation with our online trainer academy students often as a mentor who feel frustrated by being new to social media. Yeah. Because business people see social media the same way that people who want to get in shape see supplementation. Like, oh, this must be the thing that's going to help me shortcut around, the thing. Like, people joke about steroids on the internet all the time, right? Oh, look at that guy. He must be on steroids. which is a gross misrepresentation of what a steroid actually does. Like,
Yeah,
you,
right.
you don't put a shot in your butt and you come out with traps. Like,
Yeah.
it's just still a lot of hard fucking work with steroids.
Not
And
saying it's not cheating,
not
but
saying
it's
it's
also
not
not
cheating,
magic.
but most of what's going on there is it just allows a person to work the dog shit out of their body for a very long
Right.
period of time per session. Like, it's not the absence of work,
Yeah.
but what I
It
talk about
allows
with
them
our-
to work harder and recover faster
Recover
so that they
faster.
can work harder more often.
right,
So
more often.
basically, these are most often people who already work way harder than you
right,
in the
It's-
gym. And
it's
they
not-
are taking this to be able to work harder and work harder
Right.
more often than they already
Right.
do.
right. It's not Popeye's spinach, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But in any case, the point I'm trying to make is, I talk to these students and everybody starts out in a different place, right? I had a lot of followers on social media before I ever became an online coach. And then by the time I got to OTA, I was there were enough people who cared what I thought about a lot of things. But what I talked to them about is, hey man, you got great clients that you're working with in person. Guess what they've got? They've got friends in other locations, family in other locations that will never have an opportunity to make it to your gym or your garage or your big box gym or wherever it is you work, non-compete clauses notwithstanding here. But this is a great opportunity when you're doing excellent work with people in person to say, hey, you remember you mentioned your cousin Mindy and how she wished that she could work with me? Well, guess what? I got this new app. It's called Quick Coach. And what it does, it allows me to train people all over the world, man. What's Mindy's number again? I know she tried to get in touch with me once before. When's the best time to contact her? Like, that's what this slide is saying. Like, building connections with real humans, that's a better play to get you more authority, if you want it, in the social media space, because now you can talk about the shit you did with people who don't live near you. I've got this great client, Mindy. She's 2 counties over from me or 3 states or provinces away. And look at the results we've gotten on social media. I mean, in our online process. Now you got something to talk about on social media instead of just making up hypothetical situations or, like we said earlier, oiling up and doing stupid human tricks in the gym. Start where you are and branch out instead of starting where you aren't and trying to close it in. It's a much better play. For most people, it's a much better play.
Huh.
I think that's all I got, John. I got nothing else.
I think that's good. I mean, I think I'll give you the final word. I think you hit the nail on the head there. This is fun to do this kind of deep dive into this post because social media, like Instagram, doesn't allow me to go to this level of depth, and that's why I love the podcast.
Yeah,
we can go much deeper. We can explain things. We can tell stories. We can laugh a little bit, versus the quick hit. Like, basically, like if I put anything on Instagram now that isn't just like some stupid little pithy saying, it performs so much worse in terms of it. I still do it because I just don't play social media's game,
right?
But it performs so much worse. It's the silliest thing. Like, I felt sad, then I lifted weights. Now I feel great. Okay, 4,700 likes, 56 comments. Okay. Here's a really in-depth post about let's see. Let's go back and find a good one. Here's a super in-depth post about getting clients and like how to actually pick up a client with a real-world example. 1,200 likes, 22 comments. It's just it's the silliest thing, but that's just the way that it is. That's the way that social media is. Like, hard truth, we admire strong bodies because they can't be cheated. If you want it, you have to work at it. There's no other way. 10.4 thousand likes, 87 comments. And then, like, a deep thread on, like, why you should not seek perfection, why you should seek good enough, and, like, how to achieve anything meaningful. That's, like, 8 slides and basically is, like, an essay. 683 likes, 10 comments. Like, it's just like, you can't, I mean, I get it. Like this has to do with consumption habits.
Right.
You're sitting there taking a shit. You're not going to read an essay from me on Instagram.
Right.
What
most
am I
people want.
competing with? Like, it's going to be in the explore page is going to be me and a whole bunch of butts and thumbs.
Right.
Like,
right.
what are you going to click on, Jimmy? James?
He doesn't like Jimmy.
What are you going to click on, James? I get it. like I get how this works. But it's very nice to be able to have a podcast for people who want to go deeper. So that's where we're at. Thank you for listening to this episode. Oh, I have a request. I noticed on Spotify that you can actually like heart an episode. You can actually like review an episode now on Spotify, and
really?
I did it. So I gave my own podcast 5 stars. So
Very
please,
nice.
if you listen on Spotify, if you don't, you're a weirdo, whatever. But if you're listening to this on Spotify, please like go up to like our podcast homepage, and you'll see a little thing where you can review now. Please leave us a 5-star review if you like this. If you hate this, I guess less than a 5-star review, but just go away. I guess
only 5-star. Heart them shits.
Just stop listening. If you don't. But yeah, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. Really appreciate it. If you're looking for another episode to listen to, episode 78 is what I recommend you check out now. That episode is called Market Saturation and Competition. It goes in with this topic, goes into the worry of everybody's doing the same thing as me. There's so much noise. How do I stand apart? How do I stand out? How do I build business? And I think we do a really good job of giving you more of a path to follow there. So episode 78, scroll back in your feed. You'll find it. It's called Market Saturation and Competition. As always, thanks for listening. Talk soon.